All right, welcome to this recording. We're talking about the third pillar of integrity, which is authentic speaking and listening. So I'm going to share my screen again so that you can read along with me. And authentic speaking and listening, this might be going along with emotional literacy. This is one of those areas where we get to really develop a lot of internal works. Like some people are better at speaking authentically. Some of them, it's really a lot of work to learn it. But it's a thing where we just get to be committed to taking a deep dive into who we are and starting to shift things. So I'm just going to dive right into these things. Authentic speaking and resonant listening is all about the ability we have to connect with people. And so the number 12 says to communicate in a way that is unarguable. In other words, saying I'm sad is unarguable. To say you ruined my life is arguable. And so this stems, like this art or this skill that you can develop really stems from getting clear on the other, like emotional literacy. If I'm emotionally literate, it makes this speaking authentically and listening much easier. If I don't even know that I'm sad, like I might be totally blind and it looks like you ruined my life. But the first thing with authentic speaking and listening is a big dose of I'm going to own my words, and I'm going to own what I speak and what I hear, and I'm going to own that my mind influences what I send out to the world, and it also influences what I let in. So this is really like when we talk about integrity being about wholeness, this is stepping into a deep layer of internal wholeness where I take responsibility for the words I speak, and I want my words to create certain results outside of me. And if they're not creating those results, I commit to adjusting the way I speak until I begin to get those results. It's a big commitment. It seems like a subtle one, but I can tell you from experience that this is the one, like if we as a race of human beings could master this one, we would probably eliminate war from the planet. Because what's true now is we listen through filters. And if we go into the shift moves, one of them is listening, conscious listening. And we learn all about that. So it really, like this particular pillar of integrity, I encourage you to look back at the shift list and see which ones pertain to it. But authentic speaking authentically and listening is a shift as well. And so what's true is we listen through filters. If we have a story and it's bedded deep in our subconscious of how we think life is, so pick politics. If I sway one way or another in politics, and I have that deep-seated belief that this is just how it is, no matter what information comes to me, I hear it through a filter. And I either think that's BS because that political party said it, or that's the gospel truth because that political party said it, right? And I filter it through my mess. So this is actually saying I'm going to choose to show up in life differently. I want my words to create a result, and I actually want to hear with clarity what somebody else's experience is. I want to understand. I don't just want to be right. I want to understand. If I can understand what that other person is wanting in life, I'm probably going to figure out that what we want is very similar, and we're just using words to run circles around each other unintentionally. So to communicate in a way that's unarguable means that I notice if I say anything and it creates an argument, I commit to adjusting what I say to be a deeper level of truth. There's a concept behind this that says if anything that's spoken creates an argument, it's because there's a deeper level of truth that's not being spoken, and it's usually connected to our emotions, just like this example says. Saying I'm sad is owning your experience. It's saying I'm having an experience and it's my experience. And I don't blame you for it, but I am having this experience over here. That's unarguable. To say I'm having an experience and it's your fault, that's arguable. Okay. 13, to communicate the details of what is going on in any given moment in a way that invites wonder and that does not blame anyone. This builds on what I just said. If I can communicate in a way that nobody's feeling attacked, nobody's feeling blamed, nobody's feeling like the burden is being dumped at their feet. In fact, all parties involved were speaking to what's common in all of them and inspiring them towards solutions. It invites wonder. It invites them to go, oh yeah, it is that way. Wonder what we can do to solve it. And it invites wonder and curiosity. So when you speak to people, do you invite wonder and curiosity, or do you incite blame and separation and criticism? Yeah, take that analogy towards any political thing you've ever seen too. They seem to love to incite blame and criticism. And yet what's really like integrity inspires people to find solutions and be curious together and to enjoy the wonderful energy of discovery. And so that's what we're talking about there. Number 14, to take responsibility for communications until the other person comprehends. This is a big commitment. Like, it's just one sentence there, but it's a big commitment. I decided I want my words to create a result outside of me. And if that result's not happening, I go back inside and say, why didn't that result happen? What adjustments do I get? You talk about radical responsibility. I'm deciding that I care so much about creating understanding with the other person that I'm going to communicate and communicate and communicate until I've established understanding. Understanding becomes the priority over being right and over dominating a conversation and over speaking each other. So that's a big deal. So try that on and see if you can commit to establishing understanding above everything else, because that's what's required there. 15, to be the source and initiator of authenticity in any situation. In other words, to speak the truth without being begged, threatened, or coerced. So being the source of authenticity, meaning, do I always show up and just say it how it is and put all the information on the table, or do people have to beg me to show up and be present with them? The advantage of being authentic is that when you're authentic, when you bring all of you to the table, you create space for everybody else in the conversation to be able to bring all of them. And it doesn't happen in life very much. Like, life's message for so long has been, I'm sorry, all of you is not welcome here. You need to shut down and put yourself in a box. And when you show up packaged like this, then we'll accept you. So when you show up authentic and just, you invite everybody else to the thing, and it's very refreshing for them. And you'd be surprised at how much people choose into that freely just because your presence of authenticity invites them to it. And so it's a very powerful tool. This is really taking ownership of all of your communication abilities. 16, and this is very much related to emotional literacy too, but it's slightly different. So pay attention to the subtle difference in it. To know the body sensation and experiences associated with authenticity and those associated with withholding. So in emotional literacy, we talked about how our body feels the emotions, where our body also lets us know when we're being authentic. When we're being authentic, it just feels open and flows. And when we're not, there's like a restriction. And like I was to talk to Levi earlier, these things are learned skills. So give yourself time to integrate this. Like, you might not even be able to identify anything right off, but then the awareness that this exists invites you to feel into your life differently. And in the very near future, you're going to have an experience where you go, oh yeah, this is what withholding feels like. I get this knot in my stomach and I wonder if the person knows that I'm not telling them all the information, right? And so how do you experience authenticity versus withholding and not showing up fully? Notice when you start to become friends with your body sensations around this, all of a sudden they become so loud and so present that they're your best allies in establishing more integrity. Number 17, to be able to communicate authenticity under duress. In very intense situations, can you still get grounded and speak authentically without jumping into blame and criticism and BS? That also is a learned skill. Some people that can come very naturally to. Some people have to go, oh man, I keep slipping into this garbage. All of these things are learned skills. So really embrace the idea of integrity being a learning journey. When you embrace it that way, you're going to get a lot more. Your movement, your transformation in integrity will be a lot smoother and more comfortable. Make it a learning journey. I really invite you to try that on. 18, to listen for accuracy with empathy and to promote mutual creativity. So I'm listening because I really want to know and understand. So this is a listening skill, and it's just as important or more as a speaking skill. Speaking takes a lot of skill to be able to congruently portray to people without straying off into blame and criticism or conjectures or other ideas, to really just put the pure truth out there. That's a speaking skill. Now, listening skills are very much the same. I actually have to tune my mind and say, I want to understand you more than I want to find a new way for me to talk, or more than I want to have any of these other filters that we have. And if you watch the shift move on listening, you'll get a lot more understanding of the listening filters and the way we list, a lot of the ways that we listen in a dysfunctional way. Well, this is actually fostering the growth of healthy listening skills. And so that's literally what that particular one's about. Number 19, to reveal rather than conceal. So you're just always willing to put it out there. Like, there's been old programming about hold it all in, don't put all your cards on the table, all this stuff. What you find is that takes lots of energy. Like, if there's one thing we're about here in Ascension, it's about you accessing more energy, feeling more energy, and having more energy to direct towards what you're trying to create in life. One of the ways that we withhold energy is by withholding and concealing anything else, by telling lies, by not being totally open about everything. And people have all sorts of stories about, well, people will take advantage of you. And there's some of that stuff going on in the world. But the one thing that you get to realize, and that's what this particular line item is about, is that just being open and authentic all the time, it doesn't take any energy. It actually produces energy. The other ways of being rob you of energy and shut you down. So this is about power. This is about being in power and energy all the time and choosing the more powerful state of being all the time, because it creates you as a more powerful being and a better influencer. So those are the primary bullet points in speaking and listening. And again, I really want to emphasize to go back to the shift move videos and rewatch them, because these really correlate with them. Before we move on to another training video, does anybody on the call have any questions that might help create clarity around this particular subject? Everybody feeling pretty complete on that? Excellent. So that'll wrap up our recording on authentic speaking and resonant listening.